Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Then check out Deal to Heal Teas. With our inspirational teas, you're sure to find something to inspire you. That's dealtohealteas.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.com. Again, that's dealtohealteas.com. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Girl Dad Discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ernest James, and I believe the relationship between a daughter and her father is one of the most important relationships a young lady can have. And therefore, my mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by sharing the voices of girl dads to the world. So check out our podcast on every platform where podcasts can be listened to. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel. Again, that's the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with your host, Ernest James. Welcome to Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Hey, welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I am your host, Ernest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you guys listen, like, subscribe, and share to our podcast on all of your social media platforms. Make sure that you guys subscribe. Throw my whole mind off. But make sure you guys subscribe to our new YouTube channel, which is the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. All right, the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network, which is our new YouTube channel. Make sure that you guys check that out. Also, make sure that you guys check out our partner podcast, which is the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, which is also there. Make sure you guys check that out. So, like I said, man, my mind just went blank real quick. Make sure you guys are checking out our partner podcast, which is the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. And our product of the week, as you guys know, we are a self-sustained podcast. And the way that we keep ourselves on the air is by bringing you amazing products for you to purchase. And so our product of the week for this week is our purpose journal, as well as our purpose planner, because I believe that we are to journal to be able to remember where we've been and where we are, at the same time planning for our future. So our purpose journal and purpose planner are both available on Amazon right now. The links are in the description below, where you guys can have a chance to actually look at that and purchase those, which is our product of the week. So make sure that you guys check that out. Again, that is our product of the week. So let's just jump right in it. Today, just like any other day, we are blessed with the guest, Mr. Jim. How you doing?
I'm very well. I'll tell you what, I'm excited about your purpose journal and purpose planner. That's what got my interest. We talk all about purpose, and we'll cover that, I'm sure. But I'm headed off to Amazon after this to go find one of those things.
Oh, I appreciate it. Definitely helps me a lot. I just don't I just don't promote it, but I actually use it myself. So so that's good. So Jeremy, do me a favor. Introduce yourself to my. First of all, let me say thank you. Right, thank you for being here, because I could just get sidetracked. Thank you for being here, right? Thank you for being here, because you could have been doing anything else or anyone else, but you're here with me and my listeners. I definitely appreciate it. And I'm sure after our conversation, my listeners would appreciate it also. So that being said, do me a favor, introduce yourself to my listeners and tell us who you are and a little bit about what you do.
Thanks so much, Ernest. I appreciate it. So first of all, I'm a dad. So I'm excited to tune into the other podcast, the sister podcast.
Yeah.
And I think being a dad has changed who I am. I think often we introduce ourselves as, oh, I'm a consultant, or I'm a doctor, or I'm an accountant. And we're not. We're people first. And
Right.
We have passions and projects and people that are around us, and connections and personal relationships. And we also have a job. So I'm a dad. I'm a scuba diver. I'm a cook. I'm a wine drinker. I'm a husband. I have a beautiful dog. I love to run. And I also happen to own a high-performing consulting business. And so what we essentially do is we work with teams and leaders all over the world to help them unwind some of those little habits and behaviors that are maybe getting in the way of a positive culture, of a nice place to work, an engaged place to work.
Mm-hmm.
And we show them a few simple things they can do that are going to make a big difference to the way that the business performs. So we're really focused on bottom line performance. So the amount of money they make, the amount of profit they make, but doing it whilst taking their people with them. And that can work in a number of ways, and we can talk about that later, I'm sure. But realistically, what we do is we get inside people's heads, we crawl around, we turn some light bulbs on, we run some new wires, and we help them think in a different way that's going to hopefully change their lives.
All right. So hopefully we will have a conversation today that change some lives and adds to some purpose as well. So do me a favor, Jimmy. Let's go back in your own story, because I believe as coaches and authors, there's a part of us in everything that we do, right? And so part of our story actually is like the beginning of how we get into the work that we do, right? So do me a favor, let's take us back to kind of the beginning of, who Jimmy was and what you were doing, and then that initial incident that made, that happened in your life, that afterwards it was like, all right, now that I've made it through that, let me use this experience to be able to help other people.
Yeah, it's such a great question. And I think for anybody who's listening who is going through a really tough time right now, whether that is personal, work, both, family, relationships, what I've always found in my life is that just after that thing happens is when you see the biggest growth, the biggest development, the biggest acceleration of your life towards the purpose you're here for. And I'm sure you're probably the same as me, Ernest. When you look back at your life, all the pain that you've had have been some great lessons. So anybody who, first of all, is feeling like they're in a really tough place right now, you're just in front, or just waiting to find that key moment of growth and joy and acceleration. So stick with it. Don't check out. Don't give up. Keep going, because there's something amazing waiting just around the corner for you. And if I rewind the clock through my career, I started off as an army officer. So I was in the military for a good number of years in a fairly busy period of history. I managed to go through Iraq twice. I went to Afghanistan as well, and was very busy doing various army things, but I was never quite fulfilled. I really enjoyed the training stuff. I really enjoyed the leadership part of it. But as I kind of got more and more senior, I got further and further away from the soldiers and more into an office. And I realized I could probably do more good working in an office and getting paid more. So I transferred into the corporate world, did about a decade in the corporate world through a variety of roles, which culminated with me sitting on a bed in 2017 with a hangover. You can imagine, that feeling of nausea in your stomach, the feeling of, oh, I've got to go to work today, but also the feeling of, oh, I probably drank too much last night. That feeling of, what's the point in all of this stuff? The feeling of, no matter how hard I try, this just doesn't seem to be working. I can't make a difference. Like, I'm working my butt off, and whatever I do just seems to uncover more dramas, more problems, more issues. And I thought to myself, Jimmy, if you keep going on like this, you're either going to have a heart attack or something more serious is going to happen. You're going to punch somebody, you're going to kill someone, you're going to scream at someone, you're going to get fired. You know, something bad is going to happen if you keep going like this. So I decided to step out of the corporate world, having run a very successful 8-figure business. I had a team of 40 people. I was traveling all the time. I was living ostensibly a great life, you know, had 2 houses, had a Range Rover, had all the things. I was so deeply unhappy, so deeply unfulfilled. And I decided to get out of that. I decided to literally sell everything I had. I left that. I had a 6-bedroom house. I left with a backpack. And I went traveling for 2 years through Latin America and basically tried to work out what had happened to me, which I now know was burnout. I now know that I spectacularly burned out. But at the time, it was like, what was going on? You know, why did I have no energy? Why was I so exhausted all the time? Why was I so frustrated? Why was my temper so short? Why was I struggling to think? And during the course of those 2 years of traveling, I started to interact with other people who had gone through similar things. And I started to kind of connect the dots in terms of the pattern of what we now know is burnout. But at the time, burnout was not really a thing. This is way pre-COVID. And as I started to have these conversations, I've obviously naturally always been in leadership and coaching and training. I started to offer some opinions to people who were going through things that I'd gone through, that I was further down the track of recovering. And then that turned into, hey, could you come in and talk to my office or my work? Or could you do some stuff for our business? We've got 10,000 people, and we'd like to get the top 500 leaders to go through something with you in a conference. Could you come and talk to us about this? And so I started doing that. And then I suddenly realized there was a business here helping people to go, wow, I don't want you to have to quit your job. I don't want you to have to sell all your possessions. I don't want you to have to be so sad, so unfulfilled that you're wondering whether there's even point in carrying on. I want to keep you paying the mortgage. I want to get you feeling fulfilled again. And I want to make you feel motivated. And better yet, get the reward, the recognition, and the results that you really want in your career, but maybe you're struggling to get right now. So that's my career in a nutshell, is Army officer, corporate consultant. And through that, all of those kind of moments in my life have brought us both to here on this podcast.
Right. So I want to go back, excuse me. I want to go back to a couple of things you said. First of all, I want to say thank you for your service, right? I, at one point, wanted to be a Marine, but as I got older, life sent me a different way. But I do have family members that did serve, and some currently serving in our services. So I definitely want to say again, thank you for your service, because I definitely appreciate it. But I want to talk about one of the things you said that I think is important for us to realize, and I definitely played a part in what I'm doing right now, is that realizing that whatever you may be going through, you know, that tough time, that hardship, whatever it is at this moment, like you said, right on the other side of that may be everything that you ever wanted. You know what I mean? Or maybe that thing that allows you to figure out or allows you to see why you're here. Like, what's that purpose? You know, so I won't go into the whole story, because, and I always say this because I know my listeners have heard it many times before, but even what I'm doing now started right after I got divorced. And it was nothing to do with my ex-wife. We are very good friends, you know, even to this day, very active still in the lives of our children, even though we didn't have any children together. She's very active in the life of my daughter. I'm active in the life of our sons. So it had nothing to do with that. Yet it was that process, going through that process, getting divorced, having to start over, figuring out, okay, what am I now, as well as going through the pandemic, because going into the pandemic, we had a church that I helped start. I was executive pastor, just a whole lot of things going on, and everything is like, okay, it's good. Pandemic hit, divorce hit, kids grow up, and so I'm 48 now, but in my 40s then, and trying to figure out, okay, like, who am I now? You know what I mean? I'm not a husband anymore. I'm not a pastor anymore because we end up having to shut the church down. My kids are grown. I'm still a father, but not in the same role because all the kids are out the house now. You know what I mean? And so you find yourself in this place of all of these changes and then trying to figure out who am I, but it was going through that time period that led me to where I am now. And like I said, without going through all this whole story, but it led me to here, and now we're having this conversation as well as me being a speaker and, giving an opportunity to speak on stages to students as well as to adults, especially talking about fatherhood and things like that. Like all of that, my divorce was the ignition switch that changed the whole trajectory of my life. Because had I not gotten, I was happily married, at the time, so I would have been happy just being a father, being married, being a bricklayer, which is my trade, you know what I mean? I would have been happy in that little life, you know what I'm saying? But God had something else in store. It's like, all right, I need to shake you up a little bit, you know what I mean? And shake your life up a little bit because I got something I need you to do. And if I don't get you out of your comfort zone, you might not do it. You know what I mean? Right. And so I definitely wanted to touch on that because, yeah, it's definitely right after the storm. You know what I mean? Right after the storm was when you see the clouds part and then that ray of sunshine come and it's like everything is new. So definitely want to encourage us to continue to push through that storm, right?
I can probably share with you $500,000 or so worth of personal development in 3 small sound bites. And you'll probably resonate with all of these. The first one I think I've learned over time is this too shall pass. And whether you're at the highest of highs or the lowest of lows, this too shall pass. But you've probably had your worst days ever, and you're going to wake up tomorrow morning and it'll either get a little bit worse or it'll get a little bit better. But yesterday's gone, and so this too shall pass. If you're in the depths of misery, it will get better. If you're in the peak of happiness, it will get worse. And so just accepting that this too shall pass is really fantastic for being able to cope with the ups and downs of life. Because you're like, well, cool. Okay, well, I'm really enjoying this moment while it's great. And while I'm in it and I'm enduring the bad moments, enduring versus enjoying, I'm enduring the bad moments. I know there's a good moment coming for me. So that's probably the first little soundbite. The second one, I'm not a religious person at all, but I do believe in a God. I'm not sure it's the Christian guy with a beard in the clouds, but is the universal creator, let's call him. And I believe that we are exactly where we need to be to learn the lessons we need to learn right now. And so, yeah, as you say, all of the things that happened to you brought you to here. All the things that happened to me brought me to here. And here we are right now sharing these thoughts.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really key soundbite. You are exactly where you need to be to learn the lessons you need to learn right now. And then the final one is when it sucks, when it really sucks, when you're going through a divorce, when you're going through a redundancy, when something goes wrong in life, when the boiler breaks down, when you get, when the cat gets run over, remembering that this is happening for you, not to you. So, and this is probably the hardest one I've had to go through in the last 20 odd years of personal development. And I say I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching and development and programs and you name it to get to where I am. But everything that goes wrong, it's like, what's the lesson here? What's the thing I missed? What's the mistake I made earlier that led me to this point? What's the learning I can take out of this? And how can I be better as a result? And also, how can I be happy with what I am right now, knowing I'm going to become something greater? And so it's that this is happening for me. This is a lesson. This is an opportunity, even if it's your cat being run over. I mean, that sucks, right? Yeah. But this is happening for you because maybe you haven't processed grief effectively in your life, or maybe you have a big move coming up that you wouldn't be able to take a cat on, and so it frees you up for that. or maybe somebody needs you to adopt 4 other cats, and there's a limit on your apartment block for how many cats you can have. Whatever it is, it's like, hey, this is happening for me. I need to find something good here and embrace the suck. Which is I think is the American military version of this, embrace the suck because it's going to get better.
I love it. I'm writing that down right now. You know what? So Jimmy, that in these last 3 years, right? Because it's been about 3-4 years since my divorce, and which has put me on this trajectory that I am now. And even I look back on these last couple years and the things that I've accomplished in just these last couple years, with the podcast, not just having one podcast, but having 3, podcasts, and then helping my sister to produce her podcast, and as well as, some other things that I'm starting to, speaking outside of the church. I've always spoke inside the church, but speaking now outside of the church in schools and things like all of that really happened in the last 3 years. Right. And so I had to look back and really look at my life. And I made a post probably not too long ago, but I know I've said it on the podcast a couple of times, that in realizing everything that I've been through and how it's worked for my benefit to where I am now, I tell people now, I'm like, I don't care what happens to me, because I know in the end it's working for my benefit. So does it suck that I got divorced? Yeah, that really does suck. But I'll just say this, and I won't go too deep into it. I've been married twice, right? Been divorced twice, unfortunately. However, my daughter is a product of my first marriage, right? I had no kids with my ex-wife from my second marriage. But had I not got divorced, got remarried, right now in the space where I am now with my daughter, who is 21, and the relationship that she has with her stepmom, like their relationship is so awesome. And just in the space that we are now, if my daughter didn't have that relationship right now, you know what I mean? That she may be in a different space. I'll just leave it at that. You know what I mean? So it's like, when I think about, would I have liked it to stay married, the first time around? Because again, like you said, we had the stuff, right? I had a motorcycle, I had a truck, we had the house, 3-bedroom house, we had a yellow lab, you know what I mean? So I had all the stuff, and it was like all of that crumbled. And fast forward, I end up getting married again. But had I not lost that and brought my ex-wife, now still a good friend of mine, into my daughter's life, I know how much of a difference that would have made in her life. And I'm not even talking about me, just in her life, Okay. So I can say, man, getting divorced is one of the best things that happened to me twice. You know what I mean? Not that I wish it for a third time, but the first 2 times I can see how it really worked out for me. Not in the midst of it. In the midst of it, it really sucked. You know what I mean? But on the other side of it, like right now, where I am in my life and how it's played out, in the life of my children, and definitely in the life of my daughter, and the relationships that she have with her brothers, which are her stepbrothers, but her brothers now, the relationship that they have, all of that came from me getting divorced. You know what I'm saying? And so being able to see that now.
This is the way humans learn. We talk about this a lot in organizations that we partner with. When you're in an organization, there's this fear of making mistakes, right? Nobody can get it wrong, because if you get it wrong, you're going to get fired. Or if you get it wrong, the boss is going to tell you off. Or if you get it wrong, it could be career limiting, whatever these things that come up. But you look at how children learn. How do children learn? They get on bikes and they fall off and they graze their knees. They climb up trees and they fall out and they graze their knees. They try and jump off a tall building and they fall over and they graze their knees. And as long as they're not breaking their legs, as long as they're only grazing their knees, they learn some great lessons. They call them battle scars, but they're learning great lessons. And so when you're a leader in a church, a sports team, in your family, in a business, in any context that you have a leadership role, the best thing you can do is encourage people to make mistakes, is encourage people to try something they haven't tried before, because they're going to learn. They're going to graze their knees, They're going to pick themselves up, they're going to dust themselves off, and they're going to be better as a result of it. And, you're better, probably a better man and a better dad as a result of 2 divorces. I'm definitely a better man as a result of the scars I have. And so it's taking that knowledge and going, well, hell, I got to try it. It's almost like it's better to have loved and lost than never loved at all. Same analogy, right? You've got to try some stuff. Because if you don't try some stuff, you're not living, you're just drifting through life. And if you're not trying stuff in business, then you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to make sure I bring it back. Didn't want to get too far off track. But I always say, I definitely here on my podcast, I definitely believe in divine intervention. So I always say, wherever it goes is where it goes, because somebody needs it, right? Wherever the conversation goes, like, all right, then that's where we have to go. But to bring it back, so we talked about burnout. You were talking about burnout and your experience, which led you to even do what you do. So let's talk about that a little bit, because fortunately for me, I haven't been to the point where I've been burnt out in the things that I do. But with, like, again, on this new journey in these last couple of years, and so many doors that's being opened now, maybe it's a lesson I need to learn now, before going forward, right? So tell me a little bit about even some of the signs or symptoms of burnout that, most of us probably wouldn't even pay attention to even know to look out for them.
There's a few ways we can come at this, but if I start with the idea that burnout's become like a sexy term, everybody's now, I'm so burned out. And the reality is you're probably stressed out, tired out, worn out, but not necessarily burned out, because when you're burned out, you probably aren't going to be talking to anybody. And if I can paint a picture of maybe somebody who has a job, and each month they get paid their salary, and over the course of the month they spend that salary, and by maybe day 20 or so of the month they're like, I've run out of money, so I'll just go into my overdraft, but I know I can pay it back when the money comes in again, or I can get a payday loan, but I know I can pay it back when the money comes in, and then the next month starts, payday comes in, they're back in the black. And over the course of the month, they get to maybe day 19 this time, and they run out of money. And they're like, I'm good. I go in the overdraft again. I'll put it on the credit card. And then when payday comes in, I'll pay it back. This cycle of living beyond your monetary or financial means continues until suddenly you're so deep in debt when the payday comes in that it doesn't pay back the money you owe. Mm-hmm. I think many of us can identify with that situation where you're like, oh my God, my salary doesn't cover my outgoings, so the money I owe.
Right.
That's financial burnout. And what we're talking about is emotional burnout. So basically what happens is the equivalent. You spend more energy from your emotional battery, your mental battery, your physical battery, than you can recharge overnight, than you can recharge in a weekend, than you can recharge in a vacation. You give everything you have, hoping that if I can just get through this week, all will be well. And it's kind of like that plug hole effect. Initially, no problem. I can pay back. I just, if I get a good night's sleep, I'll be good. But then it gets more and more and more serious to the point where you can't get out of it. And so let's talk about those signs and symptoms. The signs and symptoms that we really look for are very simple to remember. They're the vowels, A, E, I, O, U. The first one is anxiety. If you're running constantly anxious, so you're on edge, you're stressed, you're worried. And again, a lot of people probably identify with this. There's too many things going on. I wake up in the morning going, oh my God, I've got to go to work. Oh my God, look at my inbox. Oh my God, I've got so many projects on, and I've got to do this with my kids, and I've got this with my family, and my husband or wife is nagging me, and I'm anxious, like I'm bubbling with stuff. When that goes on for a long period of time, we have to pay attention. Second one is I'm exhausted. I remember when I was burning out, I would wake up in the morning feeling like I hadn't slept. And then I'd need a couple of bottles of Coke Zero to get me into work. And then I would drink a few more cups of tea while I was at work to kind of just get up and going. And then by the end of the day, I was so tired and brain dead. I'm like, I need to keep going. So I have a couple more Cokes at the night. And then it's kind of 10 o'clock and you're still working. And so you have a couple of wines to try and wind down. Then you wake up with a hangover and then you got to start the whole cycle again. Just exhausted. And you're walking into meetings or you're meeting people and you're forgetting why you're there. Like just the mental power goes down. So exhaustion. Next one is isolation. This is really common for people who burn out, is that they feel like they're having to do everything alone. Maybe they've pushed people away. Maybe they feel like there's nobody in their team they can trust, or they're in their family they can confide in. They don't have any close friends, or their friends have kind of drifted away because you've said no so many times to barbecues and cookouts and whatever it might be because you're working all the time.
Right.
So you feel isolated and alone. So you've got nobody to lean on. Problem shared, problem halved. You don't have anybody to do that with. So that is the I. O, overwhelmed. There's just too much stuff coming at you all the time. One of the very simple ways I describe burnout is when your accountability exceeds your ability to deliver. So you've got too much things, too many projects, too many meetings, too many jobs, too many tasks, too many things on the list. And you're like, oh my God, I don't even know where to start. And everything I do is just like trying to keep my head above water. I'm not making any progress. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just trying to desperately stay alive. I'm in survival mode. And I talked to a CEO of a business today. He's like, we're just in survival mode till the end of July. I can't even think about anything else right now. I'm so overwhelmed. But that was reality, right? And then the last one, U, is unmotivated. And this is the one we really start to pay attention to now. If I've got A, E, I, O, and I see somebody who's just stopped caring or being motivated, so U, unmotivated, then we know that they're probably in the burnout, because the rest of the time you've still got a bit of fight left. But when you get to the point where you're like, do you know what? I don't care anymore. Like I don't have the energy to care, and I don't have the emotional capacity to care. So do you know what? Screw it. I don't like whatever. That's when you know somebody's really burned out. And that was where I was at. I was like, if I don't stop, something serious is going to happen. I'm going to have a heart attack, or I'm going to kill someone, or I'm going to shout at somebody, or I'll get fired. But honestly, like, I don't even want to go to work today. I can't be bothered. I'm done. I'm so done. And I hear, those are the words I hear often. I'm so done. I'm so over it. I'm just exhausted. I don't even care if I don't care anymore. I don't care if we go down a financial ruin. I don't care if my wife leaves me anymore. Like, I'm done. That's when you know they're burned out. So they're the kind of 5 symptoms that we look for: anxiety, exhaustion, isolation, overwhelm, and unmotivated.
I love that. I love that. And I can definitely, just as you were saying, and I'm just like seeing it, matching it up with my life, and I can see at different points, like, yeah, I've been there, I love it. I love it. Jim, I want to be mindful of the time, right? I want to be mindful of the time. So I want you to leave us with a word of advice, maybe some things we can do to kind of maximize our day and the time that we have, while not getting burned out, So I want you to leave us with a word of advice, however you feel, I'll leave that to you. And definitely share with us your social media handles and things of that nature, because I want to make sure that I give you enough time and area where we can contact you. I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in with us to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Do me a favor, make sure that you guys are checking us out on our websites, right? Again, we have Deal to Heal tees. I am all over the place, right? I got the wrong slide up. Yet and still, make sure that you guys follow us on our websites, right? DealHealFulfill.org. Again, DealHealFulfill.org is my main website, where you can find more stuff about me as an individual and as a speaker, to have me to come to speak at your school or organization. Again, my purpose is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. So make sure that you guys go check out that website, the DealHealFulfill.org website. Also, make sure you guys check out our website at ebooks, ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com, where you guys can check out some of the ebooks that we have available. We have a male mentoring ebook called From Males to Men. We have an ebook for dads and daughters called The Four Core, which is the 4 core values that every daughter should get from her father. That is a very good one. That's also the purpose that we kind of built around the Girl Dad Discussions podcast around that ebook when we talk to our fathers, our girl dads. Also, there's an ebook called Forgiving Me, the 4 Steps to Self-Forgiveness. All of those are available, as well as others, at ebooksbyejames.com. So make sure you guys go there and check that out. And last but not least, make sure you guys also check our inspirational t-shirt line at deal2healtees.com. That's deal, the number 2, healtees.com, which is our inspirational t-shirt line. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That is our tagline, as well as you also can find our podcast merch there. Again, we have our t-shirts for the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, as well as our t-shirts for the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. So you guys can check that out also. Last but not least, the last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And what we do, we have free virtual workshops every quarter of the year. Actually, we just stepped it up. So it's not even every quarter of the year. It's actually every other month. We have a free virtual workshop talking about forgiveness, what it is, what is not, to forgive. And so we talk about that. So make sure you guys go to forgivenessmission.com to check that out. Again, it's free. Whenever you listen to this, either one just passed or is one coming up. So you guys can go to forgivenessmission.com or just go to Eventbrite and look up Forgiveness Workshop, sponsored by the Forgiveness Mission, and you guys can find us there. All right. So again, Jimmy, thank you so much for being on. Thank you for taking our time to be with us today. I want you to have the last word. So the floor is yours.
If you're feeling like burnout is a reality for you and you want to just connect with someone for a chat, or you want to get some resources, head over to jimmyburroughes.com. I'm sure the show notes will have the link to the website. Connect with myself or one of the team, and know that we're just a listening ear. We got plenty of free resources. There's books, there's PDFs, there's blogs, there's podcasts you can listen to in that website. But just know that there's somebody who cares and somebody who's happy to listen. And burnout doesn't have to be your reality, because I've been there and it sucks, and I don't want you to go there. Let's try and fix it before you get there. If you want to talk to me on social media, I'm really active on LinkedIn, Jimmy Burroughes, or you can find me on Instagram, Jimmybleadership. And again, would be happy to chat with anyone who's feeling like they're just under the pump and they need a bit of pressure release, or they're thinking, I wonder if there's a different way of living, operating, and acting, because essentially that's all we do.
All right. So do you want to leave us with a word of advice, something like that, so we can take with us as far as maybe something we can do to help us in the midst so we don't get to the burnout?
Yeah, probably the one I share the most with people is understanding how downtime works, taking a break. You can recharge your brain in 6 minutes. If you just take a little bit of a walk, that's going to take you out of the immediacy of the task that you're doing. It'll take you out of that executive function TV channel in your brain and start to let the dots connect and things decompress a little bit. Equally, if you are needing to take a break, don't take a break with alcohol. Don't take a break with drugs. Don't take a break with anything that we call consumptive, Netflix binging. Anything you're going to binge, don't do it. Try and find something creative. That makes the biggest difference to the way you can restore your brain and the properties in your mind to help you be more resilient. Create, paint, cook, dance, sail, play golf, whatever you need to do. Anything that's binging is bad. Anything that's creative is good. I'll leave you with that.
All right. We can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, where our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening.